On this week's show, how to set up a profitable deal sourcing business.
In the news, landlords are warned to be careful because rats are thriving due to the mild weather.
And we're going to be answering all your property related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alasdair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast.
Yeah, got an interesting news article today.
Of rats. Do you know, I hate rats.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, to be honest. But we'll get there in the news article, so we'll see.
Squirmy and it's like, there's not much worse than a rat.
Yeah.
What would you rather? What's the worst animal you could find in your? Obviously, realistic. Don't say an elephant or a tiger. That would be the worst.
Yeah. What worst animal I could find in one of my properties? Yeah. Snakes. I can't stand. Oh, yes, that's the noise they make as well. I can't stand snakes. I got a thing about snakes.
I'm the same.
They make me.
Especially.
Do you know I can't, like when I'm laying in bed and I stick my foot out of the bed so it's hanging over the edge, I always think there's someone going to get it, so I
put it back in.
I always think there's a snake going to come up and bite me or something. I was like, oh my god. I can't stand snakes. I can't stand them.
Snakes and rats.
Yeah. Do you know what I was doing? Like last night, I was driving home. I was out last night and I was driving home at like 2:00 in the morning, and I parked at a red light, and I just turned to my right hand side and I was driving down St John's Wood. So I can't remember the name of the road. Anyways, near St John's Wood, and to the right of me was this nice big house, and it's got a nice big drive, and there sat in the driveway, literally from here to like 20 feet away from me, was a fox. Huge fox sat there, didn't even flinch, cleaning itself, like wiping its face and licking itself and cleaning itself. And I thought that's so cute.
Where I come from, foxes they run a mile. They won't
not in London, mate. They're not scared of you. Literally, I tell you what, I was here and the fox was there. It was 10, 15 feet away from me.
That's about 1 foot.
Well, it's an example, isn't it? And I was in my Porsche, so it's quite a noisy car, but it didn't flinch. It was literally sat there, licking itself, cleaning its face, and just didn't even flinch. And I thought, that's bizarre. But yeah, it's a fairly cute little animal.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's very relevant to the rats.
So I was interested.
It's very
rats,
interesting.
Foxes, they're everywhere, aren't they, in London? Like, I remember years ago, you don't see it now, but years ago, when you used to go to the underground stations, you used to stand at the platform edge, look down, and you used to see all sorts of mice and rats running around underneath the tracks.
Why don't you see it now?
I don't know, you just don't see it. Maybe they've cleaned them up. So I'm talking when I first moved to London in 96, 97. Honestly, you'd go into the underground and you'd be rats everywhere.
Would you be in there about 30?
I was 14. And there was rats everywhere underneath all the tracks. And anyone that's been in London a long time will remember that. But you just don't see it now. When you go into the underground, there's nothing there. It's all quite clean. I don't know why it's got better. I don't know. But you see.
Well, maybe because these mild winters, maybe they've all moved into your apartments.
Maybe. I hope not. I hope not. So what have you been up to anyway? Come on. Tell me. What's been going on in the world of Russell Leeds this week?
The world of Russell Leeds this week. What have I been doing? That is a very good question. It's funny you asked me, and suddenly I just can't remember anything. I'm like, what day is it? What have I been doing? Yeah. So yesterday, what day was it yesterday?
What day is it today?
Yesterday, nothing interesting. I mean, nothing of any.
Okay, so your life's been very boring. My life.
Talking to you about snakes and rats.
Talking to you about snakes and rats. So I've been regular at my chiropractor, and I've still grown a centimetre, which is amazing. And they're sorting
He's now 5'8" and centimetre.
they're sorting all my body out,
all of it.
Pretty much, yeah. My skeleton, my nervous system, and all sorts. It's really good, mate. Really good. So I can highly recommend chiropractors if you've like. Do you know why I went? The reason why I went to chiropractor in the first place was because I had pins and needles in my big toe.
Really?
I constantly, every day, I had pins and needles in my big toe. I couldn't. It was very numb sensation.
I was going to get my back looked at.
No. So I was speaking to Ryan Ryder, who's one of our trainers, and he's a chiropractor by trade. And I just happened to say to him, look, one day, I've always got my big toes always numb, and he said, mate, that's your nervous system. And he said, you need to go and see a chiropractor because they not only do they treat your body, but part of it is linked to your nervous system. And within 2 weeks of going to a chiropractor, my numbness had gone at my big toe because it all stems from here and it goes down and it honestly, I don't know how it all works, but it all stems from your neck and it goes down. And also, I used to suffer in my arms here and here of being numb, like really.
Is your hand still numb?
My hand, yeah. So I can't really feel that. That's because you can't see it, but
you cut yourself.
That's because there and there, when I was in my workshop, I put a saw through it. And then blood everywhere, and I lost sensation. So
there and there. Did you not learn when you did it there? You're not like,
it was in one. Oh
no, not again.
It was one. It was a circular saw, and it went. It
went
the
all
way,
the way
the way
around.
It landed, it was like that. The way it landed was like that, and it caught there and there. But look, see, when I go like this, watch. So when I go like that, I tap there.
Yeah.
So I can pull it.
Well.
No. I've got a little vein there. Just pull it and it pulls it in.
Yeah, but how do I know that you're not you're not just doing that?
I am. Do you know what? It's so funny because I do that to my daughter and she's like, she thinks I'm like a bionic man. Anyway, chiropractor is really good. She thinks I'm like the bionic man, mate. I got like that. She thinks I'm like the bionic man,
You're not even doing it in time. You're not even doing it in time. I'm
Dude,
better at it than you're.
I can get away with so much of that sort of stuff around my children.
And I can pull my thumb off. You know.
Hold on. Let me see. Wow.
So, do you know what happened? A circular saw went through here and here. Anyway, enough
That's so funny.
the rubbish. So we're going to be taking a detailed look. Last week, if you didn't check out last week's show, we basically took you through the 8 steps, how to set up a profitable, effective, good, compliant deal sourcing business.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to break it down so we can go into it in a bit more detail. So this week we're looking at setup.
Yeah.
Now the first thing you said last week was that you always set it up in a limited company.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. It's a recommendation I got from my accountant. And I don't know why anyone would do it in their personal name, because then they're personally liable if something goes wrong. So just for you guys that don't know this, you can set up a company in many different ways, okay? Yeah. But typically it would be as a self-employed, so it would be Russell Leeds trading as Russell Leeds Sourcing. Or it would be as a limited company, Russell Leeds Sourcing Limited. Okay, so
first of all, just to explain to anyone who doesn't know, a limited company.
Yeah, is
what does that mean?
Limited liability.
Yeah.
So you're set up as an LTD. So basically, it means you're ring fenced. So all the liability is held within the limited company, and you're effectively an employee or a director of that limited company.
So
you are not.
So if you do a deal,
yeah,
and something goes disastrously wrong, and you get sued.
Yeah. There's
a bit more to it than this, but in layman's terms, you can just go. If let's say you've got 50 grand in the account and you get sued for £1 million,
yeah,
you can go, I'm really sorry. Here's 50 grand. I'm going to have to now close the company, and declare that company bankrupt. And they're not going to say,
they can't come after you personally.
We're now going to come after your house and you this and you that. It's that company is
essentially if let's just say you've got a sourcing company set up as your personal name, and it goes completely wrong, something goes wrong, and you end up getting sued. They can come after you personally and your assets personally. If you've got a limited company, providing you run that limited company legally and you don't have an overdrawn director's loan account, they come after the limited company. They would sue the limited company. You're not the limited company. You're an employee of the limited company, so they're not coming after you personally.
Now, it's pretty easy to set up a limited company nowadays.
£15, £20 online, it can be set up like that. I set up one literally 2 weeks ago, and it was set up and the bank accounts opened within 10 days.
And what sort of company would you set up? A limited company, what would you say it was trading as? Is
there so the SIC code, I'll give you the SIC code. So the SIC code is the trading, what you're actually trading as. And the SIC code for deal sourcing is 68310.
68310, that's in the UK.
Yep, and it stands for the real estate. It's basically real estate agency because we are an estate agent.
Okay, cool. So first step, go online. Set up you can just literally just search, can't you? Set up a limited company.
Yeah, companiesmadesimple.com, companyformations.com. There's hundreds of them. £15 to £20. One thing I'd really recommend is you do not have the company registered to your home address. I just wouldn't do that, because then your home address, your personal residence where you live, is going to be on the company house document. It'll be online. Anyone can view where you live, and sometimes you know what, you don't want that.
So instead, virtual office,
either a virtual office
or a real office
that will allow you to have an office company set up there, a real office, or the company that you use to set your company up. They will have a service that you can pay £100 a year for, and you can use their address as your registered office, and then you just get mail forwarding. So any mail that comes to that address, they will just send on to you.
Cool. And you can do that at the time of setting the company up, can't you? Yeah,
so the company I used was a company called Companies Made Simple. For £99, they'll set your limited company up, put you in touch with the bank that you open, who will give you a £55 credit.
Is it Barclays?
Barclays, yeah. And then they will give you a mail forwarding campaign. So any important letters that come to you, they will forward on to you. And it gives you the use of the registered office. So it's a very £100 well spent.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, technically, to protect yourself when you're selling deals, you have to be, so as well, once you've got your company, great.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're setting it up as an estate agency.
Yes.
So as an estate agent, there's certain registered bodies and there's certain things you have to do in order to trade legally.
Yeah.
Which are what?
So you have to be, the first step is you have to be a member of the Property Redress Scheme. Now, there's two, okay? You only have to be a member of one. The first one is the Property Redress Scheme. Okay, Google it, just Property Redress Scheme. And I think it's £199 to be a member of. And it's actually very straightforward. You don't need much information on there. It's very straightforward. If you can fill out a normal order form online, you can do this. And then the second one is the Property Ombudsman. They both act in the same way. And for anyone that doesn't know, they're basically an intermediary body who sit above you and then the investor, and if there's something goes wrong, they mediate. They say, do you know what, you acted unfairly in this method, you owe a refund here. That's essentially what they do. So it's a governing body.
Do you prefer the TPO or the PRS?
Well, I use the TPO because when I set my company up 2.5-3 years ago, they were the easiest to deal with. So this is how I decided. I literally picked the phone up and I rung them and I said, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? The Property Redress Scheme were not the most helpful, whereas the TPO were the guy I spoke to on the phone was much more charming, much more helpful. So I went with them. However, I've since been told it's flipped.
Oh, really?
A lot of people have told me that the TPO are very hard to deal with now, and the Property Redress Scheme are much easier to deal with. So it's a judgment call from you. Maybe give them both. It doesn't matter.
You don't
give them both
like
a call.
You're dealing with them on a daily basis anyway.
I've never dealt with them since because I've never had an issue go to the TPO. So I've never dealt with them.
But so basically, the reason that you're in that is if you sell a deal and it's basically just to protect the client from you selling duff deals, etc. And then there being no comeback.
Let me give you an example, right? An example is this, okay? So the investor buys a deal and they feel that you've completely missold it to them in the sense of it doesn't make any sort of near returns that you thought, that you lied to them, and you acted in a completely unethical way. They can then say, hang about, this is not fair, right? So I'm going to go to the TPO. They're going to then look at the case and they'll make a judgment on what has to happen. Now, that judgment is deemed to be impartial. It's deemed to be fair.
So they'll look at it and they're a bit like, it's like going to mom and dad.
Yeah, it's just they're there to make a judgment.
You'll come and they'll go, he did this, and you'll go, no, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
They'll look at it and they'll go, let's have a look at the deal.
But let's look at it. Let's think about this fairly, right? If it's got to the TPO stage, it's already gone too far. Because every company, as a sourcer, you have to have our in-house complaints department, in-house complaints procedure. So if you buy a deal off me and it's
same
not
as
right,
any business.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, you do have to have it, but if you're just getting started.
But it can be as simple as, don't overcomplicate this stuff. It can be as simple as they've got a point of contact at the company where they can. Let's say I'm an investor and I buy a deal off you and I'm not happy because you said it was 4-bed and it was actually a 2-bed. All right, it's very simple. Okay, I can then in your company you have to have a point of contact. Anyone can contact with regards to a complaint. So I can send a formal complaint to you. And then if you don't handle that in a way that satisfies me. Because obviously you've got to look at all the facts and all the figures and say, actually, do you know what? Yeah, we did mess up on that deal. So this is how we propose to deal with it. If I come back to you and say, this is how I propose to deal with it, and I'm not happy, I can then say, look, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to go to the TPO. But you cannot go directly to the TPO.
You've got to try and
mediate and sort it out first.
But the TPO comes before court, doesn't it?
Yes.
So if the TPO comes in and goes, Alasdair, you did say it was a 4-bed.
Yeah.
It is a 2-bed. You got to refund them, and you were like, no. The next step they'd have would be to go to court, but then you'd get kicked out of the TPO.
Yeah, they disbar you from the TPO, and if you're disbarred from the TPO, you're disbarred from the PRS, and then you're also going to be you can't trade legally.
So it kind of ruins your business. You kind of just got to do what they say.
Yeah.
So,
but run your business in a way that stops you getting taken to the TPO.
Sure. But you've got to be a member. Okay, so you set up your limited company.
Yeah.
You've joined the TPO. But before you join the TPO...
Yeah, you need to be insured.
Yes.
Okay, I should have done that first. So my mistake. Sorry, apology, guys. To join the TPO, you have to upload your insurance certificate. So you have to have professional indemnity insurance, employer's liability if you're employing anybody, and I have public liability as well.
But the important one, the legal one, is
professional indemnity
insurance
to a minimum of £100,000. But obviously, if you're dealing with properties that are more than that, I would be as insured for as much as you can possibly afford.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And don't be underinsured.
It's not massively more, is it, to go higher?
My indemnity is for, I believe, 750,000, and off the top of my head, it's about £500 a year. Yeah. It's not a lot. It's not a tremendous amount of money. Yeah.
Anyway, you'd recommend going to get that?
Yeah, okay. So the company I would use is a guy called Richard O'Neill from DCIB Insurance in Hertfordshire.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you got your indemnity insurance and possibly other insurances as well. So you'd say employer's liability, obviously, if you're employing
somebody, yeah, 100%. Just get that. You also need vehicle insurance because if you're going to be using your vehicle for your sourcing business, you're technically using it as a business. So your car should be insured for business use. Now you could just do what I done in my first year was I just literally
do what he did in his first time. That was a mess.
It was. We can't do that, you dickhead.
Carry on.
We need to go back up.
No, we don't.
Okay, right, fine. Anyway, okay, you've thrown me now. Okay.
Don't do what you did during your first time.
Right.
Goes without saying.
What I was saying, get business insurance, okay? But what I done when my first policy was I just rung up my personal car insurance and I said, look, I want to add business mileage to it.
That's exactly what you do.
And they added business mileage to it. So that's what I done.
It doesn't put it up that much.
It didn't put it up next to nothing.
Yeah.
But just do it properly.
I didn't even know because when I first set up as an entertainer, like, I don't know, 16 years ago, I didn't even know you had to do that.
Yeah.
So for the first couple of years, I didn't even do it, and then it was like, oh, do I have to? And I rang them up and was like, oh.
A quick story. One of my old best friend, I was best man at his wedding, really good, till I lent him 18 grand and he never paid me back. But anyway,
serious.
Yeah. That's why I don't lend friends money. But I lent him money, he never paid me back, so we no longer talk. Anyway, he used to do, he had his own car, but he used to do takeaway deliveries at night to make a bit extra money. So he used to deliver for Chinese restaurants, things like that. Yeah. And the police were outside a Chinese restaurant. And they used to wait outside there just when they would park up there and wait for the night just till a call came in or whatever. And they spotted the same car coming and picking Chinese food up, taking it back. Then suddenly coming 10 minutes later, picking another load up, putting his car, going away and come back. So they thought, the police sort of said, hang about, he's a delivery man. So they waited till he picked up, right? And then they followed him, pulled him over. And they said, we noticed you're using your car for business use. And he tried to blag it and said, no, I'm not, because I'm just picking a Chinese up from me and my family. And they said, well, we've been watching you for 2 hours. You've done like 10 trips to the Chinese restaurant.
Your family ate a lot.
Yeah. And he actually got prosecuted for driving with no insurance. Because they prosecuted him for having no vehicle insurance because he wasn't insured for business use. He was using his car in business purposes, so he shouldn't be on the road. So his car got impounded and taken away there and then. He got 6 points for driving without insurance, and he got a £600 fine. So this is important stuff. If you get caught using your car for business use and you're not insured for business, the penalties are quite hefty.
Wow.
And he lost his car. He had to pay impound fees and all sorts.
Probably wasn't worth it for the £5 an hour that he was getting from the...
It wasn't worth it for the money he was getting now. So anyway, that's what it is. So yeah, get the right insurance. Doesn't take much, okay?
Any other insurances then?
That's the ones I recommend. If you go to the guy that I recommend earlier, Richard O'Neill, they have a bespoke insurance package for sourcers. So they know what you want. So just go hit up Richard O'Neill, DCIB Insurance, and you're set.
Anything else that you need to do in regards to the setup stage?
Okay, so things like you've got limited company, you've got insurance, you've got property redress. Next is you're going to have to be registered for data protection. So go to www.ico.org.uk. Because you're handling people's personal data, you have to be registered to do so. And you have to act in a responsible manner with people's personal information. So you have to be on that register.
It's very cheap, isn't it?
It's £40.
Yeah.
Very, very cheap. £40, and you're registered on data protection register. So that's fairly straightforward, fairly simple. After that, you would then need to be registered for anti-money laundering. This is the longest part. It's the longest questionnaire, and it takes the most work and the most effort. Now, you're going to need your UTR, which is your unique tax reference number for when you set your limited company up, and you're going to need government gateway information. So you're going to need login and password for that.
Do you not find government gateway a nightmare?
Yes.
Every single
time. And every single time a password changes. And it's like I have to request a new password every single time. It's like, come on.
Go and do this and put this code in. It's like, I don't know the code. Well, if you don't know the code, give us this code. I don't know that code either. I don't know anything. I know. I am me. Trust me.
Trust me. Yeah. Like, who else is logging into your HMRC account to pay your tax?
Like, I know. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
I get why they do it, but anyway, so you need to be registered for anti-money laundering. Property is the number one vehicle for laundering money, so you need to be on our register to say that you're acting in a responsible manner.
How long would you if obviously you know what you're doing, but someone that maybe doesn't, first time they've written down, they're making notes of what, as you're saying this, and then they go away and they just blast out all this stuff a day.
Okay, listen, you could sit down today with your laptop and do all of this. Okay. Are you going to be compliant in a day? No, I have never said that. There's all these people online saying I say you can be compliant in a day. I've never said that. I've said that the process of setting it up will take a day.
There you go. You
right?
can be compliant in a day.
But all the approvals can take up to 3 months. It can take up to 3 months to be approved by HMRC for anti-money laundering.
Here's a question for you.
Typically 4 to 6 weeks.
Here's a question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
You apply.
Yes.
Do you have to wait the 3 months before you can do anything, or can you then start and it's like, well, I applied?
Wow. You cannot sell a deal until you've been approved for anti-money laundering. But the anti-money laundering happens very quickly. I've had people do it that I've mentored and I've worked very closely with. They've set it up while I've been sat with them. We've set it up.
Well, I've heard
and they've had the email come through within 48 hours saying, here's your anti-money laundering registration number.
I've heard you say that the whole thing only takes a day.
Yeah, but it takes a day to do, but it does take some time. You've got to allow some time for it all to be approved. Okay, now legally you cannot trade until it's been approved. Okay, if that takes 3 months, it takes 3 months. If it takes a day, then happy days. But I know people that have done it and it's been set up in 2 to 3 days. I know people that have done it, it's taken 3 months.
I would certainly start building your list.
Yes.
And I would certainly start looking for deals and putting yourself out there immediately.
Yeah.
Whether you traded and sold a deal.
Yeah. Exactly. So anti-money laundering, you have to do through HMRC.
The insurance can be done in a day.
It can all be done in a day.
No, I mean the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
The only thing's anti-money laundering.
Yeah, only anti-money laundering.
And it normally takes how long?
3 to 6 weeks. But I know people that it's taken 3 months for, because what will happen is this, right? You'll submit the anti-money laundering information online. You'll apply. You'll do all the form. The form will take you about an hour and a half to complete. Okay. And it basically, what it wants to know is what you're doing, what's your trading business, describe what you do, describe how you run your business. They will then assess it, and they'll say, actually, that doesn't look right. So then they'll send you a question, and it'll say, okay, can you clarify this point? Now, that if you take 2 days to respond to your emails, then you've delayed it by 2 days. Right? Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of to and fro-ing going between you and the anti-money laundering department are dealing with it. So if you answer all the questions like that and you get back to them, then it's quicker.
I personally detest that sort of thing.
So do I, but you've got to do it. It's the reality. You've got
get
to
someone
do
to do it for me.
Yeah, get somebody to do it for you. It's absolutely fine. But so you still have to do it. Anti-money laundering, you have to do it. Now, don't think just because you've got insured, you've joined the PRS, you've registered for data protection, you've got your anti-money laundering. Don't think just because you've got them that you're compliant. Okay. You've still got to trade ethically. So you've got to comply with the anti-money laundering rules and regulations. You've got to run your business according to their regs.
Well, there's more setup as well, because we're just talking about legalities now, but you're now going to need a website.
You need a website, yeah.
You're going to need a CRM system.
Yeah.
Now, website, I would recommend, if you're doing it yourself and you're on a budget, using something like Wix.
Yeah, Wix, yeah.
Which I know that you did to begin with.
My first website was on Wix. My first CRM system was all clients.
I've actually run businesses that are turning over hundreds of thousands of pounds
from
with
Wix.
Yeah.
Better Source, first year where we turned over probably, I can't remember exactly, but we were doing easy 10 grand a month. was from Wix.
Yeah.
And then I went to a better website.
That's Wix, not Wicks. Yeah. Wix.com. You can build it yourself. Use a template, drag and drop, very easy, very nice looking website. Yeah. So user friendly. 100%. So user friendly. Obviously, if you're a bit more techie, you could use something like WordPress. Mm-hmm. And then with CRMs, you should be using all clients. Yeah.
Cheap. I think it's
what, MailChimp?
MailChimp's even cheap as well. But I use all clients because that was what I was used to.
MailChimp is free.
Okay.
Until you get to a certain amount, I believe, or you certainly used to be.
You can use any of these companies.
So what's the CRM?
Customer relationship manager.
So this will
just
be
manages all your contacts.
This will be where you put anyone that's interested, you add them to your list.
Yep.
Yeah, which we'll talk about later with clients.
Or get yourself booked onto the Deal Sell Masterclass. We do all this live on stage for you. We show you.
Do the students do it at the time?
They can do. Some people do. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people do it as I'm doing it live on stage. But they don't have to do that. They can like take notes. They can watch.
Well, you give them the manual as well.
I give them a manual that shows all this in detail. It's just so much easier. Now, just honestly, get yourself booked onto DSM, Deal Sell Masterclass. We're going to learn it all there. Basically, the Deal Sell Masterclass, to give you an overview, is essentially I arrive on the day and I take you from, look, I haven't got a sourcing business. How do we start it from step 1 all the way to step 25? And we do it all there and then. And that includes things like I package up a couple of deals and I send them to my email list during the day. I then receive the text messages to my phone. I then pick up my phone with the microphone to the bottom and I call the investor and I go through how we sell the deal, the questions we ask, and all the way to getting the money in the bank. Like we done one 3 weeks ago now. And we sold 3 deals live from stage. Yeah. In the bank by the end of the day was about £13,000. Now, I don't know anyone else that can do that. I don't know any other training company that can do that has got the power of a network and the power of a list that can do that and actually show you live from stage. There's plenty of deal sourcing training companies out there, but they can't do that. I know they can't.
Well, it's because they're not really doing it.
It's because they're not really actually working it. We're working this now. This is our business, what we're doing day to day. So after insurance, after all we've discussed, website, CRM, you're going to have legal framework in place, such as terms and conditions, to make sure your investor knows what they're doing, and you know what you're doing.
Memorandum of sale.
What is your So terms and conditions. What's your expectations as the investor? What's my expectations as the seller? And it just clearly lays everything. It's like a contract. After that, you're going to have policies and procedures. So if we suspect you're fraudulently laundering money, we have a form for that. We have forms and procedures for everything. We have risk assessment and policy statements, method statements. We have non-disclosure agreements. We have memorandum of sales. We have direct to vendor. We have exclusivity agreements. We have everything.
You went to a solicitor, got these all drawn up. So roughly, if someone's starting it from scratch, they want to go to solicitor, get them drawn, how much are they looking at to get all the stuff they're going to need?
I'll tell you how much it cost me.
Go on.
It cost me about £3,000.
Okay.
When I first started, to get my terms and conditions, to get all my memos of sales, all that sort of stuff, my policies, that was about £3,500. Now, if you're coming along to Deal Sell Masterclass, we give you all that. I give you all it
for free.
Yep.
Wow. There you go.
Get yourself booked on.
Well, how do they get booked on?
So if you want to get booked on to Deal Sell Masterclass, where I'm going to be teaching you for 3 days exactly how to do this business, and not only am I going to be teaching you it, I'm going to be opening up my systems and I'm going to be showing you it. Nothing is hidden, nothing is held back. It is all there for you to see and you to do. The best place is to get yourself along to the crash course. www.property-investors.co.uk. Pav will put a link up now. Get yourself along. We always do a discount for it at the crash course.
And that's free. That's a good ground.
The crash course is
very good, very good 2-day program.
The crash course is free. You're going to get a lot of so much value and information from the crash course. Like I know people. And I get this, we get told this every time. I know people that have paid thousands to go on a 2-day event with other companies. And they've come along to the free crash course and they've said that our free crash course was better than what they've just paid £2,500-3,000 for.
Oh, yeah.
Happens. We get this all the time. And we've got the feedback forms that prove this. Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's free. What you got to lose?
And then they get a very heavy discount on DSM. Brilliant.
Very heavy discount on
DSM. Well, that's the first step of setting a business is the systems.
Yeah.
And then next week we're going to be looking at
we're going to be looking at how do you go about offering your deals out to people. Okay. So how would you offer your deals to investors to get them in, to get them to buy?
Brilliant.
And to get them to take action. Yeah, we're going to be doing that next week. I'm excited.
Brilliant. It's now time for this. Okay, so in the news this week, Alasdair has found a brilliant, creepy story about rats.
It's a bit cringe, isn't it? Okay, so rats are thriving due to the mild UK winter weather. So here are the top tips for landlords. So have you got the article?
I do.
Do you want to read it? Because I can't find it.
Yeah, so who's responsible for tackling the problem? Rats can cause structural damage to property, so it's important that any infestation is dealt with swiftly. Also, it's disgusting. I'd want it dealt with swiftly. Forget the structural problems. I do not want the hygiene problems and get it out.
Do you know rats are actually quite a clean animal, believe it or not?
No, they're not. They're filthy.
No, they're actually in themselves, they might live.
They carry disease, mate.
Oh, do they? Maybe I'm confused.
Maybe you are. Maybe you're thinking of something like humans.
Maybe. Okay, go on.
Okay, so the question is, who's responsible for dealing with the rat infestation?
Landlords. There's no question.
Whether there is anything relevant in the tenancy agreement. The tenancy agreement may set out who is responsible for any infestation or may make the landlord responsible for keeping the premises in good condition if it's living, which could mean they have to deal with the infestations.
However, that's very flippant, isn't it, to say landlords, no question. Think about this. If you've got a property and the tenants are living in complete filth and they don't put their rubbish out and they're attracting rats because of the way they're living, is it the tenant's fault or the landlord's fault?
I think it's the tenant's fault.
So do I. Now I've thought about it. Let me tell you about my apartment, right? So I live in a very good, nice apartment in just north of Kilburn. Okay, so really nice apartment. It's not cheap for the area. It's quite expensive.
But you got a gym and a sauna.
I've got a gym, sauna. It's a gated access, gated community. And the inside is quite plush and quite nice, right? My next door neighbours, I tell you, if I ever see them, I'm gonna have the biggest go at them I've ever seen. And I've complained numerous times to concierge about them because the way they'll bring their rubbish out their house and they'll sit it out in the communal area. So in our communal area, there's 4 apartments run off of it, and it's all quite nice, quite plush, big big wooden solid oak doors. It's really nice. You'll know if I ever invite you round.
Never been invited.
Never been invited.
You've been to my house?
No.
Yeah,
I have. Because I was picking you up because you lost your driving license. So wasn't an invite. It was more of a.
You've been to my house as a friend at the previous addresses, though. You came round to my house
to drop you off
King's
after
Bromley.
work one day.
No, you came in. You had dinner. I ordered Indian takeaway.
We ordered Indian takeaway, yeah. But it's only because I dropped you off. Oh, I remember how that was. Wasn't that after the court case?
What court case?
When you lost your driving license.
I was after the court. That was another time. You've come in multiple times. He's always around my house. I've been to your house actually as well. Just not this one.
Not this one, yeah.
Remember, I came over when we went to that course together.
Andy
I came round for a bit beforehand.
No,
anyway, carry on.
Anyway, okay, so
we're not friends in real life.
No. They empty their kitchen bins of all their food waste and they tie a knot in the bag and they open the front door and just fucking lob it outside in the communal area, and it will stay there for 2 days. And then the communal area will stink. And I'm like,
forget this.
I'm like, no way am I putting up with this.
Yeah.
So I knock on the door and I say, look, sort it out. Come on, this is disgusting. So yeah, they would attract rats and things like that.
Well, not in the community.
Not in the. It's not the point. It smells. So it would be their fault if rats go to their house because the way they're living.
You see people that just throw rubbish in the back garden that attracts rats.
Disgusting.
It does attract rats. Mm-hmm. So who would you blame?
In that case, I blame the tenants. It's not landlord's fault.
If I was the tenant and I had an infestation of rats or ants or something, I would just deal with it myself.
Yeah, so would I.
I wouldn't call the landlord over that.
We'd both be good tenants. Like my toilets, the flush button stopped working. I just fix it myself. I don't even ring my landlord.
I wouldn't fix it myself.
Yeah. Well, I did. So it's
I
easy.
can't.
It's easy.
How is it easy?
It's easy. You lift the top off. You do whatever. Yada fixed. My point being is with that news article, I do believe that the tenant, how they live, will attract the rats. If they live
depends
in
on the problem. To be fair,
yeah.
If it's an apartment building, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Because then who is it? Your neighbours, clearly. But do you know what I mean? It's a little bit different. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'd sort it.
It is what it is.
If my tenant called me, I would sort it.
Yeah, same as.
I'd pay for a pest person.
Same
but
as.
if I lived there,
Incidentally, I did have a problem. Sorry, I just cut you off. Go on, finish.
No, go on. I didn't have anything important to say.
Sorry, man. Incidentally, I did have not a complaint, but my HMO manager on one of my properties in Hull messaged me like about 2 months ago, said that they had problems at the front of the property. I can't remember if it was with rats. I think it was mice, because what was happening was the tenants weren't putting the bins out. So this is the ongoing problem with HMOs. Who puts the bins out? Okay. And they were not putting the bins out and just stockpiling rubbish out in the front garden. And she sent me a photograph and it was everywhere. So she had to sort it out. You have to get people in to clear it all up.
Do you know what?
But that's the tenants issue.
Little tip for that problem. Put the bins in a place where the bin men will take them. So at the very edge of the garden, that's where you store the bins.
Yeah, no, but the bin men won't come inside the garden.
They don't have to? Oh, it depends on if there's a wall. It doesn't work. Yeah. See, what I did was I put an area. So move the wall back if you can. If it's a fence or something, it's easy. If it's a brick wall, you can't. Yeah. Move the wall back a bit. Put the bins in that area there, and that way they'd have to put them out. Do
you know how that cost me £200 in rubbish clearance and pest things? But obviously I sorted it out. My HMO manager rung me up and said, "Look, there's a problem. We need to sort it out." And I'm like, "Yeah, just sort it out." But what we did do is we had a tenant move in. So one of the rooms were empty at that point. The next tenant that moved in, he wanted to negotiate, so he had the small room in the house, which is still ample size, but he had the small room, and we were selling that for, I believe it was £80 a week.
Put his rent down, make him responsible.
So what we done was we said he asked if he could have it for £75 a week, and I said you can have it for 75. Not me personally. The agent come up to me and said, "Look, he wants to move in for 12 months, but the most he can afford is £75 a week. So can we accept that?" And I said, "Look, I've got no problem accepting £75 a week. However,
make him responsible.
I want him to be responsible for putting the bins out. That's his responsibility. So we'll discount it if he agrees that every week he's responsible for pulling the wheelie bin out the front and then putting it back at night. We're not asking him to pick everyone's rubbish up. We're just asking him to, whatever's in the bin, wheel it out the front so the dustbin can take it away." And he agreed. And he's now owned
Well, for him, it's like £5 for taking it out and putting it back. It's nothing, but it's win-win.
And he's actually turned out to be a very good tenant as well. He's never late with rent, and he's actually he's a bit of a how can we say this nicely? He's a bit of a grass, right? So he'll tell my HMO manager if somebody else is doing not doing right.
You always get the grasses.
Yeah, I don't mind that as long as he's not being a.
No, you like the grasses.
Yeah, but no, but I've got a saying.
Because you're like the policeman then. He's your informant.
So when I say he comes, he's not a grass, but he looks after the place in the sense of if there's a bulb going, he'll change it, right? And if
very rare.
For instance, he sent an email to the HMO manager saying that the person in room number 3 keeps having his friends stay over, and that's not us. Obviously, it's not allowed. And he said, "I'm not complaining about it. I'm just letting you know for obviously for fire safety." But back in my day, you
get beaten up for doing that, wouldn't you?
Well, snitches get stitches, don't they? That's the saying. Snitches get stitches, but. That's Scotland in the 90s.
And today.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, it's now time for this. Okay, so it's now time for the Q&A. If you want to ask us a question, the best thing to do is to comment on one of our Instagram posts with a question.
Yeah.
Mine is at Russell Leeds.
And I'm at Alasdair_Cunningham.
So please do go on, follow us, and you can find out what we have been up to in our exciting lives of rats and snakes and all that jazz. So, a question I got here from Stefano. He says, "Hi guys, I'm looking at a property to purchase and convert from a 4-bed to a 6-bed. I've got a build team around who've already quoted me for the works, but there are no real comparables on the street to go by, although there are other properties within half a mile, which are similar. Do you think I'd get a RIC surveyor to give a post valuation before the works are completed?"
Yeah, of course you will. Just get a RIC surveyor to go out and value it. They'll go out and they'll do that, and they'll give you a valuation on it. That's very straightforward. How are you buying it? Are you buying it finance or are you buying it cash?
Well, this isn't actually me.
Okay, sorry.
So I don't
all I'd say is, look, get a valuer. You're going to have to pay them to go out and give you a valuation on the property. And also, depending on how many, did he say 4 bedrooms to 7 bedrooms?
4 to a 6.
6. Okay, so you're not going to be able to get commercial valuation on that because it's only 6 beds. So, get them to go out, tell them what you're doing, give them proposed floor plans, tell them exactly what you're going to be doing to it, the rental income, etc., and they will give you a valuation on it for when it's done. I'm doing this at the minute for one of my properties in Bedford. That at the minute that's a 4-bedroom, and we're converting that into 6-bedroom. Architectural drawings should be back today, and the Rick surveyor is going to be going out, I believe next week, to value it for, obviously we're using bridge and then going on to buy to let. So they're going to be going out and giving us a post valuation.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We've been a bit longer. I think we are all out of time. But thank you ever so much for tuning in this week. Do not forget to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Certainly are.
Please share, like with your friends. Leave us some good reviews.
Yeah.
Stroke Alasdair's very tender ego. What?
Tender ego, okay.
Is that a good word?
I don't know.
Is it a tender ego?
I don't know.
Have you got an ego?
No.
Do you want an ego?
No. It depends. What is it?
Do you want to be loved?
I don't mind.
Just want to be held.
I want to be hip.
Just wants to be held.
Quickly. Okay. Remember, I went to a training program. Can I tell them that? You know this training program, don't you? MTS, Making the Stage. What they tell you to do. Sure.
Next week.
Next week. We'll tell you next week, guys.
See you next week.